This presentation introduces a new approach to planning our island's future. The world around us is changing, and we must think about how Jersey can remain a great place to live, work, do business and raise a family. Jersey's government is aiming to develop a new long-term plan that outlines what we as a community want for our island over the next 20 years. Being clear about what we hope to achieve in the future will help us develop and follow a game plan to get us there. This presentation is in 3 parts. It describes the case for changing what we do now, describes what will be different, and briefly explains how we'll engage the community in developing the long-term plan. So why do we need to change? Well, since 2006, Jersey has had 4 strategic plans. That's because the law requires each new council to produce a strategic plan for its 3-year term of office. But we've been looking to improve government's planning system. So we've looked at best practice elsewhere and what is recommended by intergovernmental organisations such as the OECD and what other places are actually doing. To give an example, the OECD reviewed Estonia's approach to strategic planning in 2011. As you can see from the quote on the screen, they highlighted the value of thinking longer term and creating a clear vision describing Estonia's aspirations as a country. The OECD argued that having this clarity would help ensure the country's economic, social and environmental strategies would be better joined up and working towards the same ends. Creating a longer-term vision means moving beyond a planning horizon that simply fits to the election cycle. The biggest advantage of this shift is that it gives time for your plans to take effect. Social, economic and environmental change invariably take time. We also looked at how other places are putting this theory into practice. Take Auckland, for example. The Auckland Plan looks forward to 2040 and sets the ambition of Auckland becoming the world's most livable city. This isn't just some vague nicety. There are a number of league tables published internationally of the world's most livable cities. Important criteria by which cities are judged include safety, business conditions, education, healthcare, and the environment. Cities such as Melbourne, Vancouver, and Vienna usually vie for top spot. So what Auckland have done is to review the criteria by which cities are judged and identified where they need to make the biggest improvements for the future. They've set themselves a timescale through to 2040 to make that happen. If you look at what other places are doing, this is typically what's happening now. They're looking forward beyond their short-term election cycles and saying what sort of change they want to create over time. These are examples of cities, regions and other islands that are doing just that. So, what will be different? Well, there are 3 key changes we're proposing. First is to establish an enduring framework against which we can plan Jersey's future and identify key areas for change. Secondly, we want to look at how Jersey is performing and monitor progress over time. Finally, we want to ensure that government strategies and policies are properly joined up and pointing in the same direction. When you look at how other places are designing their strategic plans, they typically build them around 3 key themes, these being environment, community and economy. Historically, these themes have often been considered in isolation or even seen as competing with one another. This ignores the vital contribution they each make to quality of life in a place. The concept of livability recognises that you need to balance and integrate environmental, community and economic considerations that serve the best interests of the community. This premise led to the development of the model for Jersey, which is designed to recognise how all 3 themes are vital to Jersey's future. Now that's very high level. So what we've then done is to break each theme down into a set of enduring strategic goals. Basically, these 10 goals represent the big picture issues that matter to people in Jersey and how they judge our island as a place to live. The quote on screen is from Oliver Letwin when he was in front of a parliamentary select committee looking at national strategic planning in the UK. And what he says there is very true. These same issues bubble to the surface wherever we have looked at strategic plans across the world. People judge their quality of life by factors such as the safety of their community, their access to good education and rewarding jobs, the quality of their homes and neighbourhoods, and the state of the environment in which they live. So what's different is not the ends we hope to achieve, but rather the means by which politicians decide to get there. Each of the strategic goals is then broken down into a set of outcomes. These outcomes are essentially the things that must go well if the broader goal is to be achieved. So, for example, safety and security breaks down into these outcomes about crime, fire safety, road safety, health and safety in the workplace, and our island's ability to respond to emergencies. If we get these things right, Jersey becomes an even safer place to live. These outcomes represent a critical element of our new strategic planning system. An outcomes-based approach is now widely used in many other places to drive measurable improvement in the quality of life of their communities. The final element in the framework is the role of government. Achieving the desired outcomes is not government's sole responsibility. It will require a shared effort from across the whole community. Everyone has a part to play in building our island's future. Nevertheless, you can place government at the heart of the model and understand the role it is expected to play and the contribution it can make. Take road safety as an example. Government has an important role to play as a leader because it will develop a road safety strategy and identify the partner agencies it must work with to make the strategy work. In terms of infrastructure, well, government owns, designs, builds and maintains the roads and junctions. It also delivers key services such as policing, driver and vehicle standards and road maintenance that form key elements of a road safety strategy. Again, when it comes to legislation, it is government's responsibility to enact legislation to help improve road safety, define driver standards and behaviour. Finally, government also has an important part to play regarding information. It provides road signage, it offers road safety information and advice, and it also gathers information and statistics about road traffic collisions and injuries. This approach to understanding the role of government in helping deliver different outcomes is being used successfully in other places and can also help inform discussions about public sector reform. If we are to assess Jersey's progress in areas that matter most to islanders, we need relevant and reliable information about what is being achieved and what needs attention. The next component of the new framework is a set of headline measures linked to our key environmental, community and economic outcomes. This approach mirrors best practice internationally, and a number of examples are shown on screen. I'd recommend looking online at Scotland Performs or the Wellington Genuine Progress Index to see how a focused set of headline indicators are published in a transparent and accessible way. Many places use these indicators as a key part of their long-term planning process to benchmark their current position and, where appropriate, set targets for the level of change they want to achieve. So, for example, New York's 2030 plan set a target of creating homes for 1 million more residents by 2030. But at the same time, recognising the importance of livability, they're also increasing and improving the green space in the city. Edmonton have set a target of increasing the percentage of citizens who agree that their city is well designed. And Auckland want to reduce the proportion of people who spend more than 30% of their income on their housing. Note they're not saying they will eliminate housing stress. They set a target they believe is realistic and achievable. Scotland have a target of matching the growth rate of similar European countries by 2017. And finally, Singapore want a 50% increase in the number of local residents in high-value jobs by 2030. And they've got a skills strategy designed to increase the skills and qualifications of their workforce. So how will this process work in practice? Well, let's give an example. If you're going to look into the future, you're going to need a crystal ball. We know from public consultation islanders highly value Jersey's countryside and coast, so let's use that as an example. One of the headline indicators we intend to use in Jersey Performs is the amount of Jersey which is green space or countryside. Currently, that figure is 70%. So let's say that we decide in the Island Vision that we want to keep 70% of Jersey as green space. Well, we then need to think about the impact of that target elsewhere in the framework. In particular, it's likely to impact on the built environment goal. It's likely to result in denser development and taller buildings in St Helier, for example. So one of the other headline indicators we're proposing is about the satisfaction of St Helier residents with the town as a place to live. Now the good news is that about 90% of residents said they were fairly or very satisfied. But that doesn't give you much scope for improvement, so let's focus on those who are very satisfied. That figure is 33%. Now, if you want to protect the coast and countryside, but also encourage more people to live in St Helier, you need to target that 33% figure and increase it. That means thinking about what drives satisfaction with urban living. You need to think about the quality of the housing and neighbourhoods, the quality of public spaces and parks, community safety, and issues such as traffic and parking. We could, for example, set a target of increasing resident satisfaction with St Helier as a place to live to over 50%. That way, we're setting targets for preserving our countryside and improving urban living that complement and support one another. So let's pull all of this together and see how it works. The basic framework is based on the 3 strategic themes of environment, community and economy. They are organised into strategic goals for each theme, and they break down into outcomes and the indicators which will measure Jersey's progress. That's the core structure which will enable us to develop a long-term vision for Jersey. We can take the indicators that will tell us how Jersey is performing against the key environmental, community and economic outcomes in 2016, and that enables us to look forward and decide where we want to be, what are our ambitions for the future, and what's our vision for Jersey. How we then get there is about the strategies designed to deliver these ambitions. These are just some of the strategies that will be required to turn our future ambitions into action. So how does the strategic plan produced by each council fit into this process? This will become a priority plan, where the new council reviews how Jersey is performing against the long-term vision and decides where it will focus effort and resources to keep the island on course. Each new council will have the absolute right to look at the vision and ask whether it needs to be reviewed and updated because of changing circumstances. That could be because of changes in the world around us, the impact of a new global financial crisis, for example, or because we haven't made expected progress in certain areas. This may mean that we need to rethink what is feasible and achievable. And this is what other places are doing. That idea of having a long-term vision and each new council setting a priority plan for its term of office. So Leeds, for example, have a 2030 vision and each council sets a medium-term priority plan to help make that happen. The third key change we're going to introduce is a way of ensuring that our delivery strategies are properly joined up. So, for example, you can take a sports strategy and put it at the centre of the framework, understanding how it interacts with the different goals we're trying to achieve. As you can see, sport influences, or is influenced by, nearly all of the strategic goals. The obvious connections are with making Jersey a vibrant place to live and helping keep our population healthy, but its impact is broader. Take safety and security, for example. Community football events have helped reduce crime and antisocial behaviour in some parishes. And sport can also contribute to the economic goals. The Auckland plan that I mentioned earlier aims to double the value of sport to the city's economy by 2040. This approach works with any strategy. Putting a strategy at the heart of the framework and considering how it interacts with different environmental, community or economic goals helps maximise its impact and reduce negative consequences. You can also look at the framework through different lenses. So, for example, if you just want to look at how children are faring in Jersey, you can do so. You can look at measures about how safe children are, their educational achievements, their health, and how many live in low-income households. You can also look at the potential impact of climate change on the different goals. The framework is also useful to consider the implications of population change and how progress against different goals can influence migration. So, for example, increasing the educational qualifications of our homegrown workforce or keeping our population healthier may reduce future demand for migrant labour. So how are we going to develop this long-term vision and ensure that islanders can have their say? From January to April, we've been raising awareness about the new planning process and the concept of a long-term vision for Jersey. From May, we're going to open the debate and invite people's views on how Jersey is doing today and the sort of island we want for the future. We'll gather that input, identify the issues and challenges that arise, and have further deliberation and debate about the right balance we need to strike. This deliberative phase will last through to about December, when we aim to publish a draft vision and ask the public what they think. The ultimate aim will be to finalise an island vision by the spring of 2017. This island vision will matter to all of us. It will set direction and influence government decisions over the next 20 years. It will affect everyone's lives in Jersey, so we hope to engage as many people as possible and give them the opportunity to have their say. So I hope you found this presentation interesting, and if you have any questions, you can contact us at shapingourfuture@gov.je. Thanks very much for watching.